a few words about the respiratory system now. So, every cell in a horse's body needs oxygen to survive, and the way it gets its oxygen is through the respiratory system, whose main purpose is to bring oxygen into the lungs, where it's picked up by the blood circulation and transported all around the body. The respiratory system has several other functions. It's as well as absorbing, taking in oxygen, it also is responsible for getting rid of the waste products of metabolism, which is carbon dioxide, and also helps to get rid of water as well. It's also involved with temperature control. So if you breathe in cold air, then the air that comes out will be warm air, and it's a way of keeping the body temperature constant. So we all know when we're out and our hands get cold, we breathe on our hands, and that's because our body is set at a certain temperature. If it goes above that temperature, then one way of getting rid of that heat is through breathing out. It's also involved with communication, sort of very loosely. They can make all sorts of noises through their upper respiratory tract, through the nasal passages, like snorting, etc. So that's used as a way of communicating fear, for example. And it's also involved with smelling. The upper respiratory tract, inside these areas, there are lots of little nerve cells, sensory nerve cells that will pick up odours and smells as well. So it's multiple functions, the main one being bringing oxygen in and getting rid of the carbon dioxide. So the actual respiratory tract obviously starts off with the nostrils, and then you've got the nasal passages all the way up through the nose to the throat area. And these nasal passages, they're lined with lots of little hairs called cilia, which are responsible for filtering the air that one breathes in. So we get rid of all the or a lot of the dirt and the rubbish that's in the air. That's why if we've been in a very dusty area, we've been mucking out our horses, if you blow your nose afterwards, there's quite a lot of nasty black stuff that can often come out. And that's the good thing. So that's your upper airways filtering out the rubbish in the air. And the air then passes through the pharynx and larynx and down into the trachea or windpipe, which is in that area there. And again, that is lined with cilia, so it keeps going with the filtering system there. And if your horse is in the right frame of mind and doesn't have too much fat there, you can actually feel the little cartilage tracheal rings around the windpipe down in that area. It then passes through and into the lungs, which are protected by the rib cage in this area here. So you've got your heart based behind the shoulder, and then your lungs fill the rest of the chest cavity, all enclosed within the protective rib cage. And at the back here, you've got the diaphragm, which separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. So the air is drawn into this area, and it's filtered all the way through, and it's drawn in by an action of the ribs opening outwards, and that's done through the intercostal muscles, which are the muscles between each rib, and also the diaphragm pulling backwards, which opens out the chest cavity and allows air to be drawn in. And that's called inspiration. And then when one expires, the opposite happens. So the diaphragm contracts, the ribs contract, and air is pushed out, along with carbon dioxide, excess water, excess heat, etc. The rate at which that's done is known as the respiratory rate, and it's another important parameter to monitor your horse's health with. It should be about 8 to 10 breaths per minute in the resting horse in cool conditions. But obviously if the horse is exerting itself and it needs extra oxygen, it will breathe more quickly. If it's very hot, it will pant. So there can be all sorts of reasons for that respiratory rate to increase. Another reason is if the horse is unwell. and is in pain. That can often make it breathe more quickly. So I think that we won't go into labour breathing too much because that comes more into the veterinary sections, but that's a little preview of the respiratory system.